Kishikushlam, Kishukukit, Kishukukwait, Abinishkish, Ugakiet, Kanshuketashmiat, Ushukani. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to another Wealthy Warrior Wednesday. I am your host, Kanshuketashmiat, and I'm coming to you from the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam people. Usukani for allowing me to be a guest where I live, play, create, and enjoy my time. For now, here. Anyways, this is episode number 2 of season 4. And today, I want to talk about something that I've actually been doing for quite some time now. And when I do this special, like it's not nothing special, but it's when I partake in doing this and actively keep trying to grow, to better myself, there just is so much of a shift in energy when you do this. And it's something that's so simple, but it's hard for a lot of people because of our egos. You know, our egos are necessarily a good thing and a bad thing. You know, there's a fine balance on having ego and what it's good for us, and you know that it is there to help us get motivated. It's there to help us get going. But if we drink a little bit too much of that Kool-Aid, of the ego Kool-Aid, it could get us killed. And I've talked about that. You know, I actually talk about that, about, you know, a person in history who got killed by their ego being too big. And that's General Custer and the 7th Cavalry. Way back in the day of Battle of Greasy Grass, his ego got so big that he went charging in after Crazy Bull and sitting, Crazy Bull, sitting horse, like, pretty nose. There was a bunch of powerful people there, and Custer thought he had the courage to just charge in there and start shooting. And, you know, at the very end of the story, Custer dies. Gets scalped, 7th Cavalry just gets wiped out. And that's, you know, your ego and drinking too much of that Kool-Aid, what it can do for you. And there's one thing that you can do to disarm your ego. And I've done it now a few times where I'm in heated conversations or I'm in situations where, you know, things, you know, when you get in arguments, you know, or things like that, when you're disagreeing with people, and just admitting that you're wrong. It's something that is so simple. When you know you're wrong, just admitting you're wrong can just change the whole atmosphere of a situation. And I've seen it personally. Like it's so crazy how it's just like when you admit that you're wrong in a situation, it just like opens the floodgates and everything just seems peaceful after that. Something so simple, but yet so effective. So in the future, you know, if you get in a debate, you get in an argument with a spouse, with a family member, with someone online, and if you know you're wrong, just admit it. And if you can't admit that you're wrong, just admit to the person that they're right. You know, I've done that myself as well. You know, when I first started doing this, I said, you know what? You're right. You are right. And just simply acknowledging that someone else is right doesn't mean that you're wrong. And it may be a little bit easier of an approach until that becomes a habit. And when you notice when you are wrong, or if you're in a discussion or you're in a heated battle and you don't want to beat it anymore, just simply admitting that the person is right can change and diffuse the whole thing. It's crazy. I've like felt it in my energy, my aura, and like just the energy in the room. Because energy is a thing. It's real. It's contagious. They've proved it many times. They've done it through different things. Like, they've done studies where people would sweat through fear, and they would take samples of that sweat. And they would take samples of people who sweated from exercise and movement. And they took samples of that. And then they had these people hooked up to these meters, energy levels, so they could read them, right? They could read your brain. And the people that would smell the sweat from the activity and movement, it didn't have any changes. But when they actually smelt the sweat from the fear from people who were doing things, and I think one of the studies they did was people who jumped out of airplanes who were really afraid, they took samples of their sweat from that. And the people that smelt that, it actually started to create fear within them. Our bodies are really, really tuned to everything around us. So energy is powerful. Energy is real. Energy, we are energy. We are a bunch of tiny molecules moving around at rapid, fast pace where we can't even see. Everything that you see through your phone, through the screen around me is energy. And as Indigenous people, that's one thing why we actually smudge, is because it cleanses the energy. It puts out good energy. And I don't know if you've ever smudged before. And if you're Indigenous, non-Indigenous, and you want an energy cleanse, they say, so much energy cleanse. I was doing quotations if you're listening to the podcast, air quotations, but smudge. It's a really, really powerful thing to do to change the energy in yourself, in the room, around you. You can smudge your house, you can smudge your vehicle, you can smudge anything. Usually sometimes when I go on big trips, long trips, I'll smudge my vehicle, have sweetgrass in my vehicle, have sage. Before I dance, I'll smudge off my regalia, smudge my clothes. I try to smudge as frequently as I can. Sometimes I'll forget, and then I need that reminder to reset your energy, to stop. And I'll smudge. So there's many ways to smudge. There's many ways, different ways. People do differently, different protocols. Don't overthink it. You can get, certain people use just a little shell that you can get from the ocean. Some people use a little, they call them smudge pans. They're tiny little, like pretty much a little single, like they look like single egg frying pans, like cast iron pans. So you can smudge in that. You can get sage from local Indigenous artists. There's people online that are Indigenous that sell it. Please go out and support local Indigenous people when getting sage and medicines. But what I do is light it. When I first started smudging, I was told, you're only supposed to use matches. But an elder had once told me that he uses lighter because there's flint in the lighter, and that comes from the earth. And all these things that have made that lighter pretty much come from the earth. The oils that create the plastic, they all come from the earth. So whatever I have, I'll light it, and I'll usually have a fan, and I will, like I'm kind of using my hand right now, and I'll kind of get it going. I was taught never personally to blow on it, because then you're putting that energy. If you have that bad energy, you're putting it onto that medicine, onto that smudge. So that's why I was told never to blow on it. You can use your hand, you can use a hat, you can use a fan, you can use a piece of paper just to kind of get it going. And then what I will do, this is just myself, I'll pray in my head and I'll speak in my language with the words that I know. And I always ask for pity and forgiveness because, I'm a pitiful human and I make mistakes, just like everyone else in this world. I'm going to continue making mistakes until the end of this world. So I always just ask for forgiveness at the beginning of that, just saying, Pika, I'm a pitiful human, I'm still learning. So then I do that. What I'll do is I always just kind of put my hands over it to get my hands all cleansed. I'll take off my watch, I'll take off my glasses, I'll take off my hat when I'm smudging. I'll actually put my hat over it, smudge my hat, and I'll put my hat down on the side. And then I'll kind of just do my arms. And then I'll do, if you're watching on YouTube, you're kind of seeing it through my body, but you can listen. Then I'll kind of go down to my core. And I'll go down and I'll grab that shell that I have. And I'll bring it down to my feet. And I'll do the bottom of my feet just really quickly. And then what I was taught is to turn around. But the way you turn around is a specific way. You turn around clockwise. And then when you get to your back, you stop. And you sit there for a second. And if you're doing it alone, you kind of just let the smudge go up your back. And if you have someone there smudging, they can do your back. They can wave your hand, or a feather, or whatever, and it can go up and down your back. And then what you do is you finish that circle, going clockwise, going left, and then you end off. It's just something simple like that to cleanse your energy. And even coming from a clean energy can allow your ego to let go a lot easier. And this is such an effective tool if you are in a relationship, you're married, you're not married, it's new, wherever you're at in a relationship. The number one thing to do in a relationship to make it last is when you're fighting, ask yourself, what am I actually fighting for? Are you fighting just to win over your partner? Are you fighting to better the relationship? And if you're fighting just to win, then allowing yourself to say the other person that they're right just stops it right there. It literally just cuts all the ties to you wanting to win. And it completely changes the whole situation. So if you're someone that has a partner, try this. Next time, just be mindful in an argument and ask yourself that, hey, am I actually fighting with my partner to make our relationship better? Or am I just doing it for bragging rights to win over them? And if you're doing it just to win over someone, you won't be in that relationship very long. And if you're in it longer, you'll become toxic, you become sour, you become a place where cancer pretty much is. It becomes a cancer. Your relationship will become a cancer. You have to fight with your partner for a better relationship. There has to be a goal for both of you at the end of that to move along together, not for you to one up that person to get ahead of them. Because in a healthy relationship, you walk side by side, not one in front of the other. So this is a simple tip that will help your ego get humbled. And if you've ever done that before in a fight, where you've actually just stopped and said, you know what, you're right. Let me know how it felt. Or if you've ever admitted you were wrong in an argument or a fight, let me know in the comments how it felt. Because I know when I did it, it felt phenomenal. It was just like night and day. Like it was just like pump those brakes. Wait a minute. Wow. So with that, I think we are done for the week. I'm just doing these short podcasts because I'm also still uploading powwow vlogs. So if you are looking for something to tune into, check out my powwow vlogs. There's tons of videos posted. If you want to join the community, hit that subscribe button and welcome. Welcome to the Wealthy Warrior community, where we sit down and we grow together as a community, as I share my thoughts and the things that I have done to heal myself in my short journey of life so far. I share my trips that I go on, the things I see in life, powwows, culture, things like that. So, Sukani everyone for tuning in. Catch you next Wednesday. Remember, everything always happens for the right reasons. Take care. See you next week on the Wealthy Warriors. Goodbye.